Welcome to the Accidental Business Owner podcast, the show that lifts the lid on what it really takes to grow, scale and successfully exit your business without losing your sanity, soul or savings. Real stories, raw lessons, proven strategies. Let's dive into this week's episode. Hi, I'm Jay Allen. Welcome to the Accidental Business Owner podcast, and today we're going to be talking about your battle plan. Jay, what on earth are you talking about, battle plan? Well, it's quite simple. I'm a former soldier. I spent my first 12 years in uniform for, at the time, Queen and Country. And what we learned in the military, what we learned through years and years and years and years and years and years of strategy on the battlefield and how we've developed as a defending and attacking force to be able to be considered one of the most professional fighting forces in the world, and how that translates to you as the business owner in your business. You see, what I've experienced over the last 14, 15 years working with well over 1,000 different business owners on helping to grow and scale and prepare for exit their businesses is the dilution of information from top to bottom and the impact that has on speed of growth. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about being able to share the financials with the office cleaner or the person on reception, but I am talking about being able to create a battle plan that everyone can be able to buy into and understand their impact of. And then on top of that, I'm going to throw in a little bit of blue ocean strategy as a qualified blue ocean strategist to show how we have to differentiate ourselves from everybody else in the market to create that specific category of one, as Joe Galloway talks about in the book of the same name, in order to be able to attack the system and to attack the status quo of, well, you're just another. And the experience I have of that when people say, what do you do? You know, there are so many people out there that will turn around and say, oh, you're a business coach. And it's sure, I'm qualified in coaching and I do work with businesses. So in the broad spectrum of the word, I might fall into the category of business coaching. But I'm not specifically a business coach per se. And so I want to be able to share as to how to create your battle plan, what information to be able to share with your team in order to be able to see a marked difference in their contribution towards being able to achieve it, and how to be able to implement a little bit of blue ocean strategy so you can stand out from everybody else in the market to accelerate your speed and growth. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. So Jay, why are you calling it a battle plan and not simply a business plan? Well, the simple fact is that whenever I use the word business plan, invariably two things happen. First of all, the moment I've used the word business and plan in the same sentence, you've already made a decision. I've either already got one of those, or I don't need one of those because I'm not borrowing money from a bank. And invariably, that's where a business plan has been associated with a business. We know that if you ever choose to borrow money in order to be able to help grow and evolve and develop the business, and you're going to go to some form of a lender, be that a bank or building society or a pension pot or a venture capitalist, private high net worth individual, wherever you're going to be borrowing money from, whoever's lending the money is going to want some form of understanding of, one, what you're going to spend it on, and two, because it's a loan, how you're going to be able to pay it back. And that variably comes from, have you got a business plan? And the business plan is a demonstration that you've given considerations to, why are you borrowing money? What are you going to spend it on? And what's it going to do for you in the business? How's it going to evolve and generate more income from the business sufficient to be able to pay the lend back. And the lend interest rate is often based around the risk associated with the investment versus the return on investment. We'll look at that in another podcast at some other time. However, the problem with using the term business plan is that the moment I talk about have you got a business plan, you'll either say, yes, I've already got one, or no, I don't need one because I'm not borrowing money. So let's talk about a battle plan. I served for 12 years in the British Armed Forces as a combat medic, a rapid deployment combat medic responsible for being able to provide the safety and protection and the medical aid to infantry soldiers or specialist regiments deploying on an emergency basis. We were often at the spearhead of any invasion or any deployment of British troops anywhere in the world, and my job was to be able to travel with the advanced party to be able to provide on-the-ground med support, be that sickness, injury or whatever else, for people at the very forefront of battle. And the only way we were able to do that effectively, safely, and to be able to attribute the incredible reputation that the British Army have got all over the world of being successful in battle, is because so much time is spent on the training grounds of Salisbury Plain and various other places around the world. I've spent many a summer or winter on many of them, that so much of our time was spent in training, preparing for if ever we had the need to be able to deploy for real. Now, I appreciate that it's not possible for a commercial business to spend about 70 or 80% of its time training its team to be good at the 20% that they actually do business. That's just not commercially viable. And yet, the majority of my time in the military was spent in training and preparation that when we deployed, it happened instantaneously. It was a drill that we'd done so many times before that we could do it without thinking. And I'm not saying that we didn't think. I'm saying that it became so spontaneous that we knew what to do and knew what to expect and knew how to respond because it wasn't new to us. The only thing new was the territory, or perhaps the enemy, or perhaps the environment, or perhaps the temperature. But ultimately, we'd run this scenario 100, if not 1,000 times previously in various different guises beforehand, that when we came to do it for real, we knew what to do and how to respond. Nothing was new or frightening to us. We were able to move forward confidently. And therefore, if we can create a battle plan, something that we are aiming to attack, and what I mean by that is a problem or a challenge that we're looking to be able to overcome in order to be able to move the business from where it is right now to where we want it to be in the future, if we can set out our stall with regards to what does that look like, and what are some of the risks that we're likely to face along the way, what are the challenges that we're going to come up against, and how are we going to mitigate those, if we could spend a little bit of time in preparation before just going to market and throwing a load of money at Facebook ads and hoping that that's the answer to everything. If we could spend a little bit more time in strategy, we're going to spend a lot less time fumbling around and making mistakes whilst it's actually happening in a commercial sense. And so my battle plan is around being able to help business owners to understand, where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's the size of gap? What's the risks that we're likely to face? The challenges that we're going to come up against? What's the resources that we require, both in terms of systems and processes and people? And how can we plan for all of that and then sell it to the team? Because don't get me wrong, you can be the most incredible, illustrious, motivating leader with a good idea, but I can almost guarantee with certainty that you will not have the same level of motivation in a year or 2 years or 3 years' time, still battling to try and get to that milestone achievement of 6 figures or 7 figures or 8 figures, be that per year, per quarter, per month, per week. I met a lady recently who happens to be making £2 million a month in revenue, just up the road in Greater Manchester, and listens to her story about how she went from zero to a incredibly almost 10-figure business over the last few years or so. So it's not about being able to set out with a gust and, right chaps, follow me. It's about being able to sell the dream sufficiently that every member of the team has bought into it with such sophistication and a gust that collectively we carry each other over the line, that it doesn't matter whether you're having a bad day or there's been traffic on the M62, that collectively the beast still keeps moving forward. We used to call it, the big green fighting machine. And how do we ensure that that continues to move towards the target, to be able to overcome and to be able to reign victorious? And it's all about being able to have strategy and a plan and understanding what that looks like, and then being able to sell it to the team by helping each and every one understand what they're required to do, when they're required to do it, the parameters in which we are expecting them to operate, and the impact if it isn't achieved. One of the big things that I was very conscious of whenever we deployed was, this is what we're aiming to achieve, and this is when we've got to achieve it by. And this is what was likely to happen if we don't meet target. Being able to talk about risk and challenge and talk about impact of failure is just as critical to be able to help people understand the weight of the decisions of what we're doing and why we're doing them. So that's first of all the battle plan, being able to move from zeros to hero, from where we are now to where we want to be, to understand the gap, the topography, the distance of travel that we've got to be able to cover, the challenges, the risks along the way, to be able to spend some time looking at the systems, people and process, to establish as to where am I going to put my milestones in place, to be able to make sure that we remain on target, on track, in order to be able to get to reign victorious, and then to be able to instill within the team what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and the risk of failure. And once we've done that, we can now apply a little bit of blue ocean strategy. And what that means is, how do we segment us from everybody else in the target market, that we're not just compared on price, that we stand alone from everybody else. I was fortunate enough a long time ago now to be able to spend lunch with Warren Buffett. And there was something that was so profound about what he said that lunchtime that I've remembered it and recite it on a regular basis. Only once you have moved away from everybody else in the industry and been acknowledged as such can you begin to ascend. It's not about being able to grow with the group and then splinter off once you've made £1 million. It's about saying at the very beginning, how do I segment myself from everybody else in the industry that I'm not a business coach? I'm a scale and exit mentor. Can we begin to ascend? So the 4 questions I want you to ask and interrogate your business plan. What am I doing that's different? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? And what do I need to stop doing altogether? What's different? More of? Less of? Stop. And only once you've interrogated the business plan that you've currently got against those 4 questions can you evolve and create a battle plan that stands out amongst anybody else, that allows you to be able to move forward. So my questions to you is not, have you got a business plan? Because you're either going to say, yeah, I've already got one of those, or I don't need one because I'm not borrowing money. And to ask, what's your battle plan? What are you doing differently? more of, less of? What are you going to stop doing that segments you from everybody else, that you can sell to a team to help you to be able to expand and accelerate beyond the competition? It was Jim Collins in his book Good to Great all of those years ago that measured the difference between a good company and a great company as more than 14 times the amount of growth in the same period of time from other people in your industry. Not 14%, 14 times bigger growth than everybody else in your industry over the same time period determined that you're a great company and were worthy of his investigation in the book Good to Great. It's so possible if you stop being compared to the masses. And that determines you need a battle plan that's got some blue ocean strategy. The easiest way to be able to do that is to free up some time in the business, to be able to apply the time to it. And if you haven't done already, the QR code on the screen takes you to our free business freedom assessment. The ability to be able to free up 10, 15, sometimes 20 hours a week of your current application so you can spend more time working on the business and not just in it. God bless, take care. Get in touch if you've got any questions at all. Otherwise, I'll be back next week to be able to help the accidental business owner to be able to grow, scale, and prepare for exit. God bless, take care. I'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Accidental Business Owner podcast with me, Jay Allen. If today's episode sparked a thought, challenged your thinking, or gave you a new tool to grow smarter, share it, rate it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment of transformation. God bless, take care, and I'll see you again next week.